Hello, and welcome to Group 1's interactive teaching presentation. I am Lindsay Bourne, and I will be presenting the information for today's lesson. Today, we are going to discuss group circumstances and structure and their effect on group effectiveness. First, let's talk about physical environment. It is said in small groups, environments that promote creativity and productivity can actually improve job performance. Stuart Tubbs. We are going to look at this theory throughout today's presentation, beginning with the physical environment. The physical environment helps to set the stage for the feel of the work environment. The physical environment consists of sound, lighting, and space. In some physical environments, you may encounter music playing throughout the office or office chatter. Lighting can be important as well, as it helps to set the tone for the office. Bright spaces have proven to yield higher productivity. Space is also important. How much space does a person need to feel comfortable? Today, working in groups is a big trend. In a physical environment where group work is encouraged, you might encounter open, round tables where people can work together, which facilitates conversations and the equal exchange of ideas. You might also find an open floor plan with short cubicles and a relaxed atmosphere. The physical environment has so much impact on a person's performance that there is now an entire science devoted to it: environmental psychology. Environmental psychology is the study of the interaction between people and their environment. Territoriality. Territoriality refers to the area or space that a human or other animal claims and defends. We often hear this term when speaking about a dog claiming or marking his territory. But humans claim territory as well. You probably claim territory in your everyday life and don't even realize it. Do you sit in the same spot every day for lunch? Or sit in the same seat every time you're in a particular conference room? We all get that one place where we're most comfortable in the room. If you do these things, you have claimed this as your territory. Now, would you defend it like a dog might defend his territory? Probably not. But you've still put a sort of claim over this space. Our territory helps us to be comfortable in our surroundings, and it also helps to maintain personal space. Speaking of personal space, there are 4 distances where interactions seem to occur. Intimate space, which is touching to approximately 18 inches away from you. An example of this would be our senses, where someone would be standing close enough to you for you to be able to touch them or even smell them. Personal space, 18 inches to approximately 4 feet. An example of this would be a conversational distance, so the distance that someone would need to be away from you to have a comfortable conversation. Social distance, approximately 4 feet to 12 feet. If you were a social distance from someone, you would typically be raising your voice to speak to them because they would be too far away to hear you at your normal tone. Public distance, approximately 12 feet and beyond. An example of a public distance would be church. Think of the distance that is between you and the pastor during the service. A result of group structure and distance is often seating patterns. Seating patterns are often unintentional, but can help us understand the different personality types, relationships, and roles of people in our group. An example: if someone is seated at the head of the table, they are often selected as the leader. Likewise, if you sit corner to corner or face to face with someone, this usually represents and welcomes casual conversation. Next, we will discuss group size and structure. Group size and structure is based largely on communication networks. There are 5 different communication networks. First is the wheel. The wheel is a communication network where a central person becomes the leader and enjoys more communication than the persons on the outside of the wheel. All comments are directed to the leader as he or she is the center of all communication. The chain and Y networks have similar characteristics of the wheel. However, the communication is much less centralized, and sometimes there's no leader at all. The circle also has less centralized communication. All channel communication is superior in terms of idea sharing and member satisfaction. In this communication network, communication may be relatively slow as communication is not centralized, but rather flows through each group member. This has been identified as the superior way to communicate. Group size. What is the best group size to work with? This question has seen much research and debate. The answer varies, and so do the opinions. Discussion groups vary in size from 2 or 3 up to 5 or more, and they have their advantages and disadvantages. Groups of 2 or 3 typically have too few members to contribute ideas. Groups of 4 are more effective than groups of 2 or 3, but voting is impossible. It's almost impossible to come to a decision unless that decision is unanimous. Groups of 5. Experts advise that this is the optimum size group, especially for a problem-solving group. It promotes meaningful interaction, and there are adequate ideas to be discussed. Larger than 5, there are often too many members to contribute regularly. Bain & Company consulting firm argues that once a group reaches 7 people, each additional member reduces decision effectiveness by 10%. Studies show that a group of 17 or more rarely make decisions. Social loafing. Social loafing refers to the decreased effort of each member in the group, and this typically increases as the group size increases. Social impact theory states that when the social pressure for a group member is only to complete a portion of the task, group member motivation is decreased. Most group members will complain that not all members pulled their share of the work. So how can social loafing be minimized? It can be minimized through increased personal involvement, minimizing free riding, so holding each group member accountable for a particular task, clarifying the group's goals, increasing the collective efficiency, and increasing unity. Other recommendations include collective rewards, pointing members out and clarifying the members' individual tasks to the group. Social facilitation theory focuses on the impact an audience has on performance. It is also too important to remember that some individuals perform their tasks better while in the presence of the group, while others perform better on their own. It is best to keep the problem-solving group size to approximately 5 members. Family group, work group, or even some problem-solving groups may require a different number of members. Each situation is different. Be sure to understand the goal of the group to help determine the optimal group size. Types of groups. There are 6 types of work groups that we are going to discuss today. The first group we are going to discuss is primary groups. These groups are made up of a person's family and closest friends. Members of this group are sometimes referred to as the significant other. In primary groups, it is the people that you have known for some time, such as people from work or from school. This group has strong influences on the social attitude and ideals of the individual. For example, if your members of your primary group smoke, you are more likely to be a smoker. Also, there are joint families that exist in some cultures. In a joint family unit, you have several generations living under the same roof. In India, the male children stay in the home with their children, and the family members distribute work throughout the home. This would be an example of a primary group. Now we will discuss casual and social groups. This is defined as two or more people who interact with one another, share similar characteristics, and collectively have a sense of unity. For example, it can be fraternities, neighborhood watch groups, and in some cases, street gangs. Also, a group is defined in terms of those who identify themselves as members of the group. There was a study done by Cherry of white middle-class children, and they fell into 4 categories. The first, popular cliques, which had as many as 15 people. The second group was called the wannabes, who got invited to the popular group's activities, or wanted to be invited to the popular group's activities. Third, the social isolates, who had few friends. And fourth, the groups of 3 or 4 friends. The interesting thing is that these groups really don't care about popularity, and they enjoy the secure relationships they find from one another inside of their own group. Next, we have educational groups. They can be called learning groups or enlightenment groups. Basically, groups like these get together for study or instruction. This started as a philosophical movement which dominated the world of ideas in Europe in the 18th century. The Enlightenment included a range of ideas centered on as the primary source of authority and legitimacy, and came to advance ideas such as liberty, progress, tolerance, fraternity, constitutional government, and ended the perceived abuses of the church and state. These groups meet together to discuss various topics such as marriage, medical issues, or even how to make money. An enlightenment discussion is where members try to solve problems without having the lead person to act on their discussions. Work groups. Work groups are a group of people working together towards a common goal. The Hawthorne effect, also known as the observer effect, is a type of reactivity in which individuals modify or improve an aspect of their behavior in response to their awareness of being observed. For example, productivity increased when a break was given or taken out of the schedule. The researchers concluded that the high productivity came from changed social situation, increased satisfaction, and new patterns of social interaction by this experiment. Another set of studies was conducted. This set is called Bank Wiring Observation Room Experiment. In this experiment, a person was paid more if they produced more. If you produced less, you might be called a chiseler. If you produced more, you might be called a speed king or rate buster. And if you made trouble, you could be called a squealer. People are often assigned to a work group as opposed to choosing their own group members. In problem-solving groups, there is a decreased emphasis on interpersonal relationships. The group exists to bridge the gap between the current situation and the desired situation. Problem-solving groups spend a great deal of time and energy discussing the situation and possible solutions. This group will use discussion questions to explore different ways to solve the problem. Not all problems are equally important, and their significance should be kept in perspective. Common sense about practicality and priorities are important ingredients in maximizing people's time, energy, and commitment level to solving problems. But they contain the following steps: define the problem, identify and define the root causes, generate alternative solutions, and evaluate the alternatives. Computer-assisted groups are groups that are mainly utilized through the computer. This helps when you are not able to sit down face-to-face. The internet gives cost savings, improvement in information management, internal and external communications through emails, news groups, and accessing information through the websites. Intranets bring things as getting information and databases. This is often utilized for large groups, often companies, who have members spread out geographically. This allows different members of the group to connect without the burden of traveling from one place to the other. It also allows that group benefit without having everyone physically together in the same room. In conclusion, we have discovered today that different groups require different settings, sizes, and structures. The type of group has the greatest influence on the setting, size, and structure that will be needed to accomplish the task. All-channel network communication is the best for group member satisfaction. For problem solving, groups of 5 members is the optimum group size. The type of group format is related to the group goal, and there is diversity in groups. Diversity in groups is very important as it can increase the ideas the group produces, but can also present challenges. Group circumstances and structure have a major impact on the success of the group and should be considered when a group is formed. Thank you for joining us for our interactive teaching today. You will see on the slide before you the list of group members and their contribution, and then also the works cited as well. Thank you and have a nice day.